And here's the other thing, this PPP loan, right now, yeah, you might get it forgiven, but let's say you got $200,000 for your PPP loan, and now that you're going to go submit all your numbers to get your PPP loan forgiven, all right, now you got it forgiven. However, that $200,000 you cannot use as an expense of your company this year. So what does that mean? You just got a $200,000 increase in revenue with no expenses attached to it. Now the government's saying, oh, that wasn't the intent, we're going to forgive it, but they haven't enacted that law yet. And we have to wait for it, but I got a couple of CEOs that are starting to scratch their heads saying, I think I got to go start spending money so that I could spend money against this loan amount so I don't have to pay it in taxes at the end of the year. So I guess we could call that a trend going on too, huh?
Hey, Jim, I think Don Turner has a question for you.
Yeah, Jim, I'd just like to get your take on a phenomena that I just was exposed to. My youngest son is a senior quality engineer for a company we will leave unnamed here in Atlanta. But, you know, when I wrote the article on the new normal, particularly for white collar, is managers have got to transition from moving from managing hours to managing deliverables. He is a senior quality engineer, and one of the companies, or his company, what they've done is using a company computer. They've now installed software where it keeps track of every keystroke and every movement of the mouse. And if you sit there and actually think about something and try to put some cognitive, you know, value added to something, you're actually being dinged because you're not touching the keyboard or the mouse. So now what he said is his fellow employees now are just sitting there writing garbage just to keep their fingers moving. And of course, he's a he's a brilliant double E. He's actually thinking about creating a little machine that will sit there and move the mouse manually around the screen. But I'd like to get your thoughts on that, and if you're seeing that, because I quite frankly, I think it's ridiculous, but I'd like your thoughts on it.
Yeah, we are worried about the productivity of people, but I think almost all managers have told me that they're actually getting more productivity out of their people working from home because they're finding that the individuals had to leave home at 7 o'clock in the morning to get to work at 8. So what are they doing? They're actually at the computer at 7 o'clock in the morning. And they would get home at 7 or 8, so they're still on the computer till 7 or 8. So you're getting, 2 or 3 more hours of productivity out of the people, and they're concentrating on their work instead of all that water cooler talk and everything else, or wasted meetings. I mean, when we do a Zoom meeting, it's pretty productive today versus meetings we used to have in the office where half the time we were chit-chatting.
Yeah, I agree. I think Zoom meetings take half the time that face-to-face meetings do.
Absolutely. So I know I have one client that put in place, and this is not a hard law, but even the employees complained about this one, is the first hour you're working, please call your manager, email your manager, let them know you're safe, you're home, you're okay. Because when we sent this workforce home, we found out probably 65% of those people live in an apartment by themselves. And here we are in this big epidemic. We don't know if they're safe or not. So that was more of a safety valve of saying, I want to know you're home, because we did have a couple people that did go to the hospital. We didn't even know they were in the hospital because they didn't check in with their manager, and we didn't know that they were actually sick with COVID. But to go to there's a lot of computer methods out there to know if your employee's working on the computer and if they're active or they've been not active for so many minutes or hours. But for a company to track that, I'm going to say that company might have some pretty good sized turnover when this COVID thing ends. I think employees are looking at how they are being treated and how they're treating others during this event. And I think we're going to either have some really, really loyal employees going forward inside companies, or those that want to leave because they felt they weren't treated right.
Yeah,
But
Don,
that would be a great follow-on article to the one that's running now.
It would be.
yeah, I was just going to say we did some work for our last company that did exactly that. They were a managed services company, and they started monitoring people's keystrokes, and they just lost about 20% of their workforce.
Bingo. Yep.
We did an employee. We talked to their employees anonymously, and they lost some very, very good talent because they were just too big brother.
Yeah, it seems like we're going to have a lot of learning to go through on this whole work from home. But Jim, you do raise some terrific points about the increased productivity just from the use of commuting time. And the other thing is, I'm wondering what that's going to do to relieve the whole stress issue from the commute, and especially in a city like Atlanta.
Well, you have that, but don't forget, we're also seeing people have a different stress. The stress of working from home, the stress of not having a normal day, not seeing people, it's wearing on people. So I'm hearing that, hey, I'll take my commute back versus this being at home and in solitude. And I think the human body wants friends, needs that social environment that, this epidemic has just stripped us of. And I'm sure that we'll never be back to normal, but people want to get to some kind of normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things we're seeing too is in a very socially distanced way, they're staggering it that employees are going into the office once a week. Only one person on an elevator, office, the aisleways in the office, only one person can be walking on one side, things like that. But that's a good point, Jim.
Yeah, and I'm actually doing that in my office. When we started coming back at the end of 4th of July, we were only going to have 2 people in each one of my sections, which meant only 6 people at a time in the office, 1 person in the break room at a time. And then when COVID went spiking up, it's like, okay, everybody go back home and only come into the office when you need to use the equipment. Like my payroll people that do payrolls for our clients, you're going to find them in on Monday and Tuesday mornings because they want to run reports, they want to print some stuff, they want to use their dual monitors, all of that kind of stuff. Also, when there's big events happening with the other side, on the HR side, you'll see more people coming in. But right now, I'm going to say usually four people are in my office at a time, and that's it. And we're staying distance from each other. We don't require everybody to wear a mask. I got a couple people that want to. I have one of my ladies had actually 4 deaths in her family with COVID, so she wears a mask. But every company has to do their thing, depending on them. I have a pretty high-tech company that just shoves their people in, like they're open forum desk, and a person in front of them are 2 feet away, and a person sitting next to them is 2 feet away. You can't work in an environment like that. They're right now, they're all working from home. And we're trying to figure out how to bring them back, but it's like the environment's not appropriate. I mean, it was nice, these big fishbowl tank concepts, but it's not going to work for COVID right now.
Well, Jim, thank you for the presentation today. I know it's long overdue. We've been looking forward to hearing from you for a long time. So really very useful and timely information.